Welcome back to another Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the absolute greatest mysteries in human history. Picture this, the sun rising over ancient, meticulously laid brick walls just emerging from the dusty earth. These are the forgotten giants of South Asia, the Indus Valley Civilization. It's this incredible story of mind-blowing engineering, vast populations, and then just complete silence.
4,000. To really grasp the magnitude of this society, we've got to ground our timeline right off the bat. Over 4,000 years ago, while a huge chunk of humanity was still just trying to figure out basic agricultural settlements, this incredibly sophisticated civilization was not just surviving, they were thriving. They built this whole world of carefully planned cities and organized urban life that totally rivaled the other great ancient cultures. But unlike those others, this one kind of just vanished from our modern memory.
Okay, let's dive into this comparison. When we think of Egypt and Mesopotamia, right, we usually picture grand monuments, pharaohs, and massive campaigns of historical propaganda. They made sure to leave their stories loud and clear. But the Indus Valley, they took a totally different path. You won't find any boasting monuments to megalomaniac rulers here. Instead, they left us advanced drainage systems, hyper-organized urban life, and an absolute historical silence. They poured their energy into incredible public infrastructure instead of readable propaganda. It's just a fascinating contrast in how human societies choose to operate.
Section 1. Cities Ahead of Time. The Urban Mastery of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro.
So at its geographic peak, this vast network stretched extensively across what is today modern-day Pakistan and northwest India. And these cities? They were absolute masterclasses in deliberate urban design. We're talking about perfectly gridded, straight roads and standardized bricks. And when I say standardized, I mean a brick in one city matched the exact proportions of a brick hundreds of miles away. But the true marvel, the real game changer here, was their sophisticated drainage system. Almost every single home had access to water and waste management systems that literally would not be matched by other cultures for thousands of years. It proves we're looking at a highly organized, cooperative urban civilization that put a massive priority on public sanitation and order.
Section 2. The Unsolved Script, a civilization without a voice. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that despite all that advanced urban planning and technological mastery we just talked about, we arrive at the central archaeological mystery. Over 400, archaeologists have discovered more than 400 distinct symbols carved into these intricate little seals, fired into pottery, and etched onto ancient tools. They're beautiful, they're clearly deliberate, and they definitely represent a complex communication system. Yet, to this very day, not a single one of these symbols has been fully deciphered. It's like a giant puzzle. We have the text, but we simply don't have the key.
Which brings us to this powerful reality: only silence, carved in stone. Unlike the Rosetta Stone that finally unlocked Egyptian hieroglyphs for us, we don't have a bilingual text for the Indus Valley. No historical accounts, no lists of kings, no mythological stories we can read. It is literally the ultimate archaeological cold case. We can see exactly how they lived, how they built, and how they traded, but they can't speak to us. They remain completely silent.
Section 3. Why did they leave? Investigating the disappearance. So the crucial point is, how does a civilization this advanced, this sprawling, and this structurally sound just kind of stop? Well, the timeline tells the story. Before 1900 BCE, we see these cities at their absolute peak. Bustling streets, flowing drainage systems, thriving trade, the whole shebang. But right around 1900 BCE, a dramatic shift begins. And it wasn't some sudden catastrophic collapse overnight. Instead, post-1900 BCE, we see these massive, glorious cities being slowly abandoned one by one until they were left entirely empty, just handed back to the earth in the dust.
So why did they leave? There's no single definitive answer, but scientists do have a few leading theories we need to look at. First up, climate change. Shifting monsoon patterns could have made their massive urban agriculture totally unsustainable over time. Second, shifting rivers. You have to remember the Indus River system was the literal lifeline of this civilization, and geological evidence shows that rivers actually changed course during this era, which would completely devastate a water-reliant city. And finally, declining trade routes with places like Mesopotamia might have really weakened their economy. It was most likely a combination of these factors, especially those shifting rivers, that eventually forced massive migrations of the population.
Section 4. Evolution, not extinction. A paradigm shift.
And this brilliantly illustrates a major pivot in how we view them today.
For decades, the narrative was that this civilization simply collapsed and went extinct, but recent genetic and archaeological evidence tells a completely different story, a story of adaptation. Step 1. The great urban centers, no longer viable because of the changing environments, begin to decline. But the people didn't just vanish. Step 2. The populations systematically migrate eastward, looking for more stable environmental conditions. And Step 3. They adapt. They transition away from those massive water-heavy urban centers, and smaller, localized agricultural communities start to emerge in their place.
The civilization did not end. It evolved. Actually, scratch the old textbook narrative. The story of the Indus Valley isn't some tragic tale of a doomed people. It's a powerful, enduring testament to human resilience and environmental adaptation. When their world changed, they just changed right along with it. The descendants of the Indus Valley continued on, blending seamlessly into the rich cultural tapestry of South Asia that still exists today.
We look back at their perfectly aligned bricks, their straight roads, and their silent, undeciphered symbols. They built a world of extraordinary precision, leaving a legacy that's still waiting to be fully understood beneath the soil. And it leaves us with this final thought to ponder. If a civilization this massive and this brilliant could be forgotten for thousands of years, what other stories of humanity are yet to be uncovered? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time as we continue to decode the world around us.